A plume of dust rose on the horizon, just a cloud, or a sneeze of hot wind. Hawkeye Johnson was the only one to see it, perched in the watchtower of New Fort York. He blinked and carried on braiding raven feathers into his necklace. Life was good. A hammock, dignity in the silos. Real good. He tossed a palm of fresh-baked Cheerios into his mouth, and as he crunched, he laughed. On a rooftop below, the naked ballerina was doing his dance. Only 2 things. Gardner Dawkins was not exactly a ballerina, and the bath towel kept him from being exactly naked. That said, the 320-pound man was the best dancer short of Blizzard Dancer. Dawkins leapt over a bathtub and landed into a spin like an ice skater. The music came from Mackenzie Slim and Folletta, fiddle and flute. Other cowboys, mountain men, and buffalo gals danced behind the dripping laundry and the rooftop ice tubs of the saloons. Cookie stirred something so rich the sweet barbecue sauce carried on the heat waves to Hawkeye. He yanked open his brass telescope, just to be sure that nothing on the horizon really wasn't actually something. Through the scratched oval, he first found focus on his western town's gunslinger and namesake, Josh of Allentown. He stood at the edge of the rooftop revelry with a full beard of New English shaving cream. All he needed now was a straight razor to shave it off. That particular blade happened to be everywhere but Josh's grip. Josh's razor rifled through the sky, bouncing, dodging, teasing, and tossing. The famous Buffalo Bill showman darted that knife anywhere but within reach. It tumbled over Bigfoot's head, flicked on by Utah Davis, and snagged by 4-0 wearing a blinding, all-silver bathrobe.
Got it,
he said in his robot-augmented voice. Throwing knives might be just the most dangerous threat the Bills face this week, since the weakenings to the other ages weren't predicted for a full moon cycle. No threat of old-fashioned titans or new-fashioned gangsters for once. All right, 4-0. Compadre, let's give me back the blade before you shave that triangle off your skull. Bear Morse and Big Iron Bass laughed as loud as the Irish fiddle. It was a troupe of oddball theater today. Huge gladiators, super spies, and cyborgs. Having a Western spa day.
Super freak. The triangle represents manifestation, enlightenment, revelation, and a higher perspective.
Mine now, shouted Kyrie the Kid as he picked the knife from 4-0's hand and dropped it behind his back into cookies. Chop, 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 chop! 7 divine barbecue cutlets, chopped by a New English shaving razor. Cookie forked one and threw the blade over Josh's soapy face. Utah Davis tracked it down, but Wallace, an old friend, intercepted it. He took a moment to dance it on back to Josh of Allentown from a bended knee. A collective groan went up from these sunbathers and ice soakers and ballet dancing gardeners. Some guy he is. Wally, you can't come back here and spoil our fun. This is for you, gunslinger, said Wallace, ignoring the boos to speak directly to Josh. Thanks. This blade is a little dull, Captain. You feel it? Another clump of ridiculously foamy soap fell off Josh's chin. Was this a pitch? Am I really being pitched in my own bath time? A knight of silver doesn't always stay sharp. Catch my drift, Slinger? A lot of eyes were on this passive power struggle. 4-0, Morse, the relaxing Mafia folk, Hawkeye Johnson's telescope. Josh needed to show strength, even in a bath. He inhaled deep, gave a lecture on loyalty and trust, totally forgetting that his face looked like a frosted cake. So he just ended with, "Hey, Utah!" "Yeah?" "Where were we?" Utah Davis ran even farther, hopped a plank, swung a clothesline over the street and onto the next roof. Josh heaved the one thing he'd been so desperate to get a hold of as far as he could. Threw it just like a baseball. only a baseball that was long, metallic, and sharp enough to cut bone. Davis and Wallace jumped through a coop of carrier pigeon cages, sending plumes of birds, and who knows how many messages, into the sky. Utah outstretched his fingers on his outstretched hand to snag it, just long enough for the second hand to come in and get purchase. Only it wasn't Utah's. Both spies had a hand on the knife. Wallace added his second, to steal the steal twice in a row. But it seemed 2 hands weren't enough, as Utah added his own second hand and some heart. Plus, some of that strong heart's blood. That's the thing about wrestling for sharp knives. Wallace let go. His statement wasn't worth losing a finger. Utah's was. He held up the red and chrome blade. Not Oneida silver at all, actually, but the same foundry as the railroads that crossed the frontier. Bethlehem steel. Utah Davis gave the blade to the kid tending the pigeons.
Kyer the Kid?
Shouted Diggs from behind a huge 80s camcorder.
I thought you were over here.
I am, said Kyer the Kid next to him.
Yeah, I'm Khalil the Kid.
Said the boy on the other roof.
And you ain't the same person?
No,
Don't think so.
they both replied. See, I love corn on the cob, and Khalil the Kid don't.
That's true.
Shouted Khalil the Kid, far away and way too loud.
The taste is fine. I just don't like all the little pieces jamming in between my teeth.
Enough! Bellowed Bear Morse with sunglasses and his belly burning pink. You mean to tell me that we have 2 cowboys named Khalil and Kyer? And you picked the same cowboy modifier?
Yeah, that's true.
Said the kids. A glob of goo fell off Josh's beard. Never, ever give up hope that you will shave. He ate a forkful of barbecue cutlet instead. Juicy and tender. Punchy, but soft. Men of many talents. Cried a voice from the edge of town. Hawkeye kicked out of the hammock and snapped his telescope up to the plume of dust. Huge now, and at the water tower. Hawkeye blew the alert whistle from his feathered necklace.
Retreat!
Yelled the rider galloping down Main Street. It was Mr. Jones of the Mafia folk.
To the fore!
Close behind, a stagecoach careened around the one-room school. A woman snatched a child from harm's way as it skidded almost all the way into the water tower. It was driven by a fearful trio. One at the reins, one wounded, and the last riding shotgun, firing cover shots over the back of the carriage.
Retreat to the fore!
All of the Buffalo Bills, defenders of the frontier, sprinted in what little they had on. Some adding a pair of boots to their towels and robes, each one a bare example of getting caught with your pants down. Ready or not, weakening or not, they converged far and wide toward the massive gates of New Fort York as they slammed shut.
Buster here, defenders!
Commanded 4-0.
Counterattack! On me!
The 2 leaders, once rivals, were back-to-back now. Comrades.
Get these men off the coach and behind our line! Bungo, wait to dock! One of them is shot!
Josh of Allentown arrived just as Mr. Jones, that scared Mafia folk rider, leapt off his horse into the pile of bodies near the gate. It didn't matter that Josh wore only jeans and his face was smeared in shaving cream. His eyes were clear. Easy, soldier. What is it? Getting nothing but panting breaths, Josh looked up.
Hawkeye, what do you see?
Hawkeye did nothing but scan the dust with a telescope.
Nothing yet, Gunslinger. But I make visibility only to the water tower.
Jones, what's on your trail? Josh demanded. New Fort York felt wide open.
I made a mistake,
said Jones, shaking his head.
It was a mistake.
You're okay, Stockman. You're safe here. Josh gave the man a hug to remind him he wasn't alone.
Hawkeye, what do you got?
But the response came from closer.
Steelers!
Who said that? Asked Josh. Motor pointed to one of the coachmen he pulled off the carriage. A man in goggles and a flamboyant blue suit, perhaps European.
It's Steelers. A whole gang of them. They hold up innocent trains and dignitaries and coaches as like ours as with the most violent of force. They break the bones and take everything, even the clothes off a man's back. No!
Said 4-0, tightening the belt of his silver robe. Nobody wants your space pajamas, said Morse.
Not from space. Future pajamas?
Thankfully, Dawkins' words were more relevant. They had to be, helping a real traveler with a real bullet in his body. Steelers. Yeah, I know him, brother. The traveler in a red uniform groaned. It had a company patch on one shoulder. Dawkins added, Big Ben's gang. They held up our stampede just last year. Melted the tracks so we couldn't leave the station. Lost it all before we could even move.
Devastating losses.
Yelled the third coachman.
They're after our safe. It's empty, but they don't know that.
Stay calm, son. This guy was a kid, as young as the Bills' new set of kids, and the dust cloud finally engulfed them, shrouding everything out there. This is a mess, thought Josh. The defenseless Mafia folk outside of the fort, the town's buildings, even the generals were far ahead of this repressed front line. Why are we defending from our doorstep? I should have met Big Ben on the open frontier, said Josh.
No. They're con men, Josh. It's more likely a trap to abduct you.
Said Bigfoot Phillips.
That's true.
The stranger in blue got in.
Word is that Big Ben's is cashed in. All accounts done. They'd be looking for a gunslinger young and full of promises, as are yourself, like.
I ride out then, said Utah Davis. Who's stopping us? I see nothing. Once you hear the whistler, you trick shoot out to me a deterrence bomb.
Set an edge.
Agreed, 4-0. But there be no room for a slinger shot, said the kid in yellow. Your back's against the wall.
Already set, sir.
Said Bear Morse, holding half a sling and Dawkins stretching the other. Two heavies you love to have on your side. Even if they're missing their shirts. The door! Open the door! I have to draw inside, Josh said, pulling the sling. What if the Steelers get in? Yelled the red-suited stranger.
You think about your safety.
Agreed the blue suit. I trust our guards, mumbled Josh, and both guards pushed at the gate to crack it. Josh couldn't be seen behind, Utah couldn't be seen ahead, and then it was the sparking bomb, which couldn't be seen. The next time the deterrence bomb was seen, it was a mile away, with Utah Davis galloping it in a perimeter around the town, providing a new front line.
Whoa,
said the three newcomers and Mr. Jones in unison. Oh, yeah! You should have seen us throw his razor blade around earlier, added Diggs. I dove off the edge of a wall and ran on its sideway leg, just like a bug. Really? Asked the kid in yellow. Really, Billy? You like movies? Dawkins, Morse, and Josh were the last to leave the gate, both a bit proud and a bit stunned it started like this, and that it actually worked. Sure, notable dignity warriors they were, but remember, they only had one shirt on between the three of them, and one wore a dirt-smeared beard of New English shaving cream. Nothing will dare cross that line for a good half the hour, said Tiny Bear Morse, shading his eyes to see Utah far beyond the new rocket. What is it? Josh finally asked. A deterrence bomb, said Dawkins. Terrible smell, poison to taste, universal repellent. I know that, said the gunslinger. But what is it?
it's me feces.
Hey, senor. Go Bills. Está bien. Josh asked a Mafia folk boy and his sister. Josh looked around the streets for any immediate threats. Seeing only Bills checking in on residents.
Where is your shirt?
Asked the 5-year-old girl. I lost it. Perdida. They took Josh's hand and led him through a garden to a beautiful ofrenda. Above the berries and painted candy calaveras on the altar hung a sombrero and a poncho. Tus padres? Josh asked softly.
Perdida,
said the girl. Airy strong hearts, Josh said. He noticed their mother watching from the doorway. Panchito, it's okay, she said to her son. He offered the poncho to Josh. Josh placed an apple from his bag on the ofrenda, only to borrow. As Josh stepped away in a sacred blue and white poncho, he heard them call after him.
Viva los Bills! Viva los Bills!
Josh knocked, then stepped into the dusty haze of Town Hall. Hey, he offered. A series of stone sculptures stared at him in the dark. Statues, legends of the hero wars, and the ancient warriors. Josh followed the sounds of heated whispers in the council chamber.
We cannot ignore the chief's kingdom.
Through the shadows, he could make out a stranger talking to the generals. They stood in the colored light rays of the stained glass skylight. It was the first time Josh saw the effect of stained glass, ever. Its closest cousin was his favorite lamp from back on the ferry with the tinted case. But the result on a scale this big, coloring a room, was reverent. Luckily, Panchita and Panchito knew enough to offer him this gift to preserve some respect to the blue and crimson chamber. Baron Tomlin, this is Josh of Allentown, introduced McDermott. He's from our own age and era, and an old friend.
Sparring partners, perhaps?
Said the man in all black with tinted spectacles. It was hard to imagine how dark this room must be to him. Is it urgent? The Baron has some concerning news, clipped in General Bean. Not pressing, sir. We have it under control.
Then, as I was saying, Chief Elder Reed is on the warpath, burning villages, telegraphs, and burial mounds in the borderlands. The war chief's territory is expanding.
Tomlin dropped a bag of white chips onto General Dorsey's map of the Niagara frontier. What's that? Asked Josh from across the room with some annoyance. Looks like dice, Josh, said Bean. McDermott was closer to them than Josh and used his back to shield the boy from the purse. What he may have mouthed silently to the two leaders was unclear to Josh. Generic bone fragments. From a chicken meal, likely. No doubt meant to taunt us.
And they besieged our main blast furnace,
Boomed the Baron.
I negotiated surrender, and the Warhawk demanded I bring these dice here with a message.
Tomlin addressed both of the generals with low tones, understanding an attempt at discretion. What message? Josh asked. He wasn't going to simply stand by. Whatever else that band of chiefs might be, they were destroyers of his only friend, only child, only partner, the triangle trinity that makes up a pet, his filly. The chiefs were his enemy.
The message is this.
Tomlin turned from the generals to Josh and removed his tinted glasses, revealing a patch over one eye.
These are the bits the pigs scat.
Josh stepped forward. What are they exactly? Dice or bones? McDermott matched Josh's pace and path toward the desk. He thudded into him right in the rays of blue light, dyeing half their faces. Neither, gunslinger. It's a taunt, nothing more. Meant only to draw us out. To Arrowhead Rock? Sure, let's go. To war? Each head turned to General Bean behind his desk, and the map, and the dice, and the light shafts. Because it would be a war. Bean took a deep breath and stood up to circle the desk in shadows. It will be the war of this age, the 1800s, which determines the fate of the entire multiverse. As I hear from the telegraphs that remain, every reported raid, every show, every dignity run is leading toward a super collapse for whichever Wild Bill or war chief who survives the eventual campaign. The coming bloodshed. The balance of power for the entire multiverse has shifted to one age and showdown. Whoever survives will have no greater foe left to prevent them from the most elusive throne of all. Then what are we waiting for? Asked Josh.
I like this one, Cad?
Baron Tomlin said.
How'd you like to make some real money in a tycoon, kid?
My goal is to live and die in the Bills Mafia. And to bring it to glory, Cad.
Ho ho! Which fire brought this one? A fighter.
Tomlin got very close to Josh's face suddenly, much closer than Josh would have allowed if not for the supervision of his generals. The eye patch lifted. This man had seen war. The Baron said,
Civilians may fight, but there is no way you know the meaning of an ACAD, nor the discipline and rigor we sacrifice to survive and thrive in the process of the Academy.
I speak only of defending our home, sir. My fight is not with you.
I know it ain't. Not today, at least,
said Tomlin, all spirits again and hopping back with a bright smile. His patch flipped down and his tinted spectacles returned. He clapped Josh's thick neck, the poncho collar, and spoke to the room.
McDermott was at Academy under a particularly tough drill sergeant, if I remember it rightly. A sergeant who was a smitten for the book of the blacksmith. And long after I left, you remained. Under that drill sergeant who rose the ranks all the way up to Secretary Eagle.
That's right, answered McDermott.
But not you. It seems Secretary Eagle Reed had a different fate in mind for his little chick.
And that's his right, said McDermott, the way one speaks of a blister. So, an entire history had already been written for McDermott and Reed, before even a word had been authored by Josh and the Warhawk last winter. A story that ends in a fairy tale written by a gunslinger, wearing either blue or red. Written by a savior. Patience, gunslinger. Trust the process? Asked Josh, not smiling. We shall, said Bean sternly. Why have you come, gunslinger? Some salesmen raced in, fearing they had a gang of outlaws on their heels.
What gang?
Asked Tomlin. Stealers, apparently, looking to press gang.
If those thieving cons are on their way, then it's my high time to leave,
said the Baron.
Generals, if you do ride out to them, the war chiefs, you've heard that I delivered their message, but tell them not this. I'd much prefer to live under the benevolent influence of the Buffalo Nation than the kingdom.
Go Bills, said McDermott.
Say, gunslinger.
Tomlin halted shoulder to shoulder to Josh before anyone could eavesdrop.
Have you got the time?
Sure, it's... Josh picked at his pockets for his stopwatch. It's,
Never mind, kid. In the steel pit, we have a great chromium clock tower that can be seen from anywhere in the foundry.
Josh looked down to see a propaganda flyer suddenly in his hand.
Read up on that. With the right working class under you, we could produce more dignity than anyone. And you'd love the ketchup sauce, too. Better than wings.
4 Bills replaced the Baron at the door as it opened. Gunslinger, I think I've been robbed, said Khalil the kid. I know I have been, said Utah Davis. I was going to catapult another deterrence bomb, but the kick wires vanished, added Big Iron. The last man rushed over to Josh, Mr. Morris. Hey, Josh, this is outrageous. I had a complete bundle of 7 score dignity going into the fort, and no one can find it now. You hurt? Asked Utah to Morris. Anybody hurt? Nah, it's all petty. Except I feel like a ballyhoo fool. They got me first, said Josh, clapping him on the neck. Where are the salesmen? No one can find them. Folks say their uniforms are two-sided. There's stagecoaches here, but not them, said Davis, walking with Josh and adding, get this. Their safe in the stagecoach was empty, sure. But 4-0 and Mayor Del Reed found that they were smuggling over 38 scores of dignity. Hollow steel nails, said Big Iron. Of course our Mafia mayor found contraband, growled Josh. Who was the last person to see these thieves? I don't know. We'd have to ask... Diggs? You in here? The movie theater was a portal. A man-made weakening that seemed to bridge a sunny frontier town with bathtubs and laundry to a dark cave of unrecognizable worlds. The gunslinger felt the autumn heat cooling on his poncho as if caused by the Baltimore fog and haunted castle of crows. Tasted the sea salt and the mildew as the black and white memory played on the screen. Silent. A gothic raven bit inside a thrashing man's head. A weak man's head. Just a week ago.
And this is where Josh of Allentown is at his lowest.
It was Diggs narrating. Apparently he imagined someone was in the audience of this great hall.
He's got a raven in his skull. He's thinking, am I actually this bad without Hollywood at my side? I mean, you see it in his eyes. It's very sad.
Sad. Josh let his mind wander for a moment in this portal. What might it be like if that gunslinger on the screen was just a man? A cantaloupe farmer. A ferryman who could pass an easy Sunday bathing and actually shaving. Shoot some arrows with Brittany. Catch a moving picture from parts unknown, where he could watch the torture of another hero without rushing away to another scene. He rushed away. Diggs. Allentown. Just like in the movies, only it was 30 degrees hotter in the projector booth. Smelled of chemicals. That trio. Yes, steel salesmen. Pickett, Pickens, and Watt. What? What? They're downstairs, finishing up the marathon. This is the part where they're not here. And they're pickpockets and conmen from a Steeler gang. Got it. That's a small crew to move dignity, said Diggs, sobering and lowering his voice. What are they after? I was hoping you might know since you were close. What do you mean, close? I mean what I mean. You were close to them. Maybe you would sort of even say watching them. Did you catch anything here before, well, showing them everything about us? It was coming out more tenuous than Josh intended. And yet, maybe he meant it. These films? Yes, of course. Come on, you're Hollywood Diggs. Of course you tried to show them your projects. Tried? What do you mean, tried? Nothing, really. After all, it's too late now. What, gunslinger? Tried? Rather than showed? And of course they walked out, and I kept narrating to an empty theater, trying to get someone to give a damn about what we've been trying to work on and make us relevant for some 5 weeks now. Alone. Yeah, exactly. Josh saw the victim card and played a flush back. I know the Bills think this is all vanity, or it ain't helping us move forward like all you guys fixing windows and rebuilding tables. But this? Diggs pointed into the beam of light which cast a massive shadow on the screen. Darkness pointed through the huge face of Josh of Allentown, silently becoming an on-screen monster to break out of the Gothic tower. This is history. Or it will be if we achieve what we're tasked with here. And Tarnal if we don't. If we surrender to the Chiefs again, then sure, it will have been for nothing. But that's a risk of 500 hours I'm willing to take because I believe this year is history. And I hope so too, said Josh. You and my ma and pa and the Wagon Masters and the Queen of Pagoolaville. The whole Buffalo Nation. Even the Wests themselves, the Rivers and the land. You all deserve it. You do. We do. We are all overlooked and mocked in every era of the histories I found in the library. We deserve at least one notch better. The Josh on screen literally bashed his head into a Baltimore brick wall. And I am trying not to let you down, Diggs. Those words may seem ripe for an empathetic bite, but Josh coated them with a toxic bitterness. I am not your punching bag. And historic or not, threatening or not, we have Steelers on the loose, who were last seen here. This is a fight then, Josh thought, after hearing his own words and feeling how good it felt to talk tough and controlled. 1 minute the Pickpocket Brothers are a comedic punchline, and now he was trying to draw blood with their rampage. And it felt good. He couldn't let loose with Tomlin and the Generals, nor the strangers who needed a hero. But Diggs was a peer. Some gangs would even consider a spy a subordinate of their gunslinger. You want me to go catch them? Please. Please, said Diggs. Catching people is what I do. Tell me to go. Just like you could have done here. He pointed to the silent film Josh, tormented, alone, and making his own path. Or here. Diggs snapped the reel lever to reveal the final act of the Miami Job. There, an overexposed Josh in a wetsuit pushed forward over collapsing understudies, putting on a show, but alone. I ain't vanity. I ain't a one-dimensional diva. I am damned if I ain't the hardest working spy in the West. And be proud, Buffalo Nation, because that edges me over anyone in the known multiverse. Hollywood's shirt and tie clung to his sweating chest. He didn't look good right now, but he did look like he was telling the truth. It ain't vanity if it's a fact. Josh had nothing to say as he stared at the desperate trick shooter on the screen. Fighting a vice cop with the butt of a rifle, only to be held upright by Dawkins, almost dead himself, so loyal. The final Miami wave coming. Diggs didn't need to look at the screen to know each frame that passed. He'd studied this film seconds in the editing room as he had every performance or ambush before it. Finally, Diggs said, and it plays to an empty room. Sure, the Steelers leave. That's expected. Outsiders. Up to no good. But every night, I play these pieces here. Right here, in Allentown, in the great Buffalo Nation. To no one. My gift. Y'all see me pitching and hustling and think, oh, it's Hollywood's vanity. But Gunslinger, our own squad, our own core team doesn't show if I don't make them. And it's supposed to be for our relevance. It don't matter how good we are if no one bothers to look at us. Is it even history if nobody knows? Come on now. Yes, your work ethic is incredible. I look up to your ethics. And they're getting better. You have something you're passionate about, and nothing will stop you. It is fantastic. Josh said the sacred phrase of the nation, and it was true. Yeah? You think they're getting better? Josh felt a sinking feeling when he saw the hope in his friend's eyes. Desperate hope. Totally. What's the last one you saw? Yeah. Was all Josh could find to say because he knew he had the wrong answer. Diggs knew it too. Of course he did. The Miami Job even? Most of the references in there were for you, actually. It was your science fiction picture. Yeah. Los Angeles. Our first one. When I forced everyone to watch. I'm sorry, Hollywood. Diggs just got very still. No wisecrack or counterpunch. Just still. Josh wasn't even sure how these sideline projects got that way. So invisible. Had it really been too weakening since he'd used Diggs? Invisible? Josh glanced at his friend's eye the instant the footage ran out of the Miami reel, as it had, in reality, in history. The flickering theater went dark. This other world, which was Baltimore, which was Miami, was now void. A whole world of void. And Josh actually felt relieved he didn't need to see the pain on Diggs' face. How awful is that? To be relieved that you don't need to see the pain that you caused? From the darkness, Josh heard, "If I were the last survivor of an infamous Steeler gang, with only a wounded heavy, a spy, and a slinger without a gun, I'd take whatever scraps kept me alive for my old people." I'd see pain and betrayal in their eyes as I stole from them. And I'd think I'd be able to forget it in the years to follow. I'd suffer any hell required to cross the time ages of the multiverse alone, on foot. And I'd become famous for being selfish. And then I'd prove myself with whatever ethic and gifts I could muster to a new people who were righteous and able. I would commit to never look back and to not stop working until my new home got what it deserved. Diggs spoke it slow and careful in the hot void. And if that didn't work, I'd go to the best blacksmith in the multiverse to forge my shooter a gun. Hey, there he is, ladies. Utah Davis extended his arms like a magician revealing a magic bunny. Josh, feeling darker now than the theater he stepped out from, was that magic bunny. The audience, two Mafia tots in pigtails who clapped and danced like Davis. Maybe Mr. Josh can tell you what the deterrent smoke came from. They loved the proposition. They loved that two adults, two Bills, were paying attention to them. Josh didn't. He felt, instead, that he hurt someone he loved. Because he had. To pay attention, the cheapest investment. And it could have protected the nation from conmen today. "Dawkins," Josh called quick to the far hitching post. "Oh, or maybe Mr. Josh is too busy," Utah said, reading despondency on Josh's face like it were seasickness. But Josh flexed the smile. He fought through the wounded muscles in his legs, torso, arms, and neck, the sprained kindness and the broken humors that all had to work together to flex a smile. He didn't want to, and he did anyway. Josh took a knee to give chivalrous handshakes like the kids were the Imperial Raja princesses. The next right choice. Josh didn't need the Lieutenant General to say it in order to hear it. "You mean the big smoky thing Mr. Utah had?" "Yeah." "Did it smell really awful?" "Yeah." "You want to know what it's made from?" "Yeah." "Okay, I have to whisper it because I only learned it today. The memory is just a little baby thought, so I don't want to scare it away in my head where I can't find it." Josh leaned forward. They leaned their ears in. "It's poopy." The girls squealed and shook everywhere like a wet dog. It was really funny, actually. And Josh stood up, sobering, to Dawkins. Adult talk in the canopy above the kiddies. If I were looking for the best guncraft in all the multiverse, where would I go? Utah drew a long breath, expressing, not sure. Dawkins didn't. Right here, gunslinger. No doubt in it. Really? The blacksmith. Nobody's better. Then that's where the Steelers are headed, to steal whatever weapons they can. We need to get there first, Josh said. We are there. He's right here, said Dawkins. But it's a question of when. We leave now, said Josh. Right now. Okay. See, I know exactly what you mean, but it isn't exactly what I mean. You want to leave right now, but what we need to do is actually far harder than leaving right now. We'd have to leave the right now. See, if it were simply leaving this place right this moment, that would be easy. But you'd need to leave this moment right in this place. Are you talking about the Buffalo Nation in a different era? So the gunslinger finished with their mission. Then it's settled. We leave the now.